Good morning, everyone. And now here's the author of Engaging Virtual Meetings, John Chen.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Karen. Hi, TC. How are you doing? Hopefully, TC, you are there.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Very good. TC, where are you calling in from?
San Jose.
San Jose?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I have a sister that lives in Cupertino.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty close.
Excellent. All right, so let's see. So again, my name is John Chen. I'm with Engaging Virtual Meetings. And so let's do a couple things here. Why are you here? Well, of course, this is one of the proven ways to beat Zoom fatigue. And with Zoom fatigue now, what is happening? In fact, we did this poll about 2 months ago, and we asked this question: what do you feel is your biggest obstacle during virtual meetings? And this group, while said they're still having sound issues, like 33% of them, 55% said getting attendees to engage in a meeting is still the number one problem. And given kind of at least what I think I'm seeing inside the world, I think virtual is going to have some other resurgence here coming up next. So if you are on virtual meetings and you just were either getting by or you're looking for the next level, I'm going to give you 6 tips here, 6 very easy tips, and more importantly, show you how to use them and to help you make your virtual meetings more engaging. So it comes with this, is that we've been looking at this, we've got it now into 6 letters. That's engage is a 6-step method. Every letter stands for something, and every time you do something, your odds of being perceived as more engaging actually go up. So check this out. So, hey, TC, have you seen anybody present like this week?
Not really. Yeah, not really.
Not really. So that's one of the things to look at is look at the technology, right? So actually, Bob Behan, who's one of the VPs in charge of virtual experiences at Microsoft, he said, stop thinking theatrically, meaning where are you, in relevance in the physical person, and he says, start thinking cinematically. In other words, what are the things that you can do that you can't do anywhere else because you're here on camera, and this is actually one of them. So engage stands for this. The first one is E. E stands for engage and interact with every attendee. As you can already see right now, right, TC, one of our guests here, I'm able to interact with him here in San Jose. And the key here is to have a plan to engage and interact with every attendee before the end of the meeting. Obviously, if you have smaller meetings, it's easy, but this can easily be done. Karen and I have produced a 1,200 person virtual conference, and we still had plans about how to engage every single person. It can be by chat, it can be by poll, it can be by voice, right? It can be by video. But have a goal, and we have some other cool, unique systems to show and track some of the ways to do it. To interact with every attendee, and usually you'll find that you'll get a great response with that. Actually, one of my favorite stories is that in that 1,200 person conference, in the middle of the conference, there were about 12 of us who were ambassadors and producers, and we were all working together to help it feel engaging for such a large group. So my job was to chat a certain letter of the alphabet, and so I would go through in the middle of the program where while I'm producing, I'm pushing all the buttons for what's happening. I was able to send some messages in there. And one of the messages I sent, and I said, hey, this is John, I just want to check in, how's your conference going? And it turned out this woman came back and talked to me 3 days later. Let's say her name was Julie, and she came back and she goes, John, can you see into my house? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, when you chatted, I thought for sure you could actually see that I was slacking off. and so I came back to the computer, and of course I came back to it, and I was wondering, I was looking around, how could you see that? And I said, no, my job is to go and engage you. And so that small chat made her recognize that she's not some anonymous person inside of this conference, that there is somebody here looking and paying attention and seeing, is everything okay for you? And that small chat came back and made that conference feel engaging for this person, Julie. All right, the next one is the overwhelm host. So let me check this. TC, do you host any of your own virtual meetings?
Yes, sometimes.
Yeah. So, and is it overwhelming sometimes?
Most of the time, I feel my team member has no energy during the meeting. They don't want to answer. They don't have a question. So I want to cheer them up. So that's the main reason I'm here to understand what would be other way to cheer people up.
Perfect. Yes. Well, and get people to engage, right? So yeah, they're present, but they're not saying anything. All right. Well, let's start on the tech side, which is now most of us are here really with Zoom, but I had a friend, she started her own Zoom meetings in March. right? And it's for high value or high end meetings, or especially large meetings, right? It gets more and more complex. Like, it's already hard enough, so, you know, public speaking is a challenge for a lot of people, but public speaking on a technical platform, especially if you're not good in the technical platform, can be a challenge. So here are all the things that she did. She read her registration, set up her Zoom room. She ran her own security. She kept track of her engaging with every person. She recorded and streamed to Facebook Live. She shared her own slide deck. She chatted with all attendees while presenting. She set up and then ran the breakout rooms. And let me just tell you, at the end of that, she was exhausted. And so even myself, I've been meeting online for 35 years. I can still find myself on mute. And now it's actually a really fun game with a lot of my friends, especially Karen, my producer, which is like, if she can actually catch me on mute, it's a, you know, that's kind of the thing. But I'm telling you, it's not your fault, right? 35 years, right? You can still get caught on mute. It's not your fault. Why? Because, you know, this technology is not designed in such a way that for us humans that we're getting all the cues that we need. And so one of the other best tips that we have here is never lead a meeting alone. So TC, one of the other ways too to get engagement actually from your meetings is ask one of your team members to help you do something. That could be like chat, right? It could be like checking engagement. So as you speak to everyone or everyone talks inside the meeting, you know, check off their name. And so those are things. It could just even be admitting. It could be like actually have them share the slide. So the reason why too is once you ask somebody to do something, they're immediately engaged, right? Because they're now responsible to the group. And so if they screw up, right, they don't screw up for themselves, they screw up for everybody else. So it's really a great part. But one of the things that we've seen is that also in timing, right? Who loves the Zoom meeting that goes extra long, right? So I have a friend and she runs a BNI meeting, and this is a referral meeting. It's a paid business meeting where people pay to get referrals for the business to try and grow their business. And she came to me and she said, John, my problem is since March of 2020, we went online and I have not been able to get our meetings to end on time. And I said, say more. So I got a bunch of description, and eventually I gave her this tip. Never lead a meeting alone. So a week later, she came back to this same class, and she goes, oh my gosh, John, you're not going to believe it. She goes, I actually got my meeting to end on time. I'm like, oh, that's great. And she goes, but wait, there's more. I actually got it to end on time, and I brought in 18 minutes of content, valuable content that I threw out and put it back in, and I still ended on time. I'm like, that's amazing. How'd you do that? And she goes, I didn't get one person, right? I didn't get one person. I got two. She got two people from her group to help out doing everything, and so she was able to focus on the group. She was able to, you know, keep this connection as the speaker with me and you, and these two people took care of everything else. With that, she was actually able to end on time for the first time. And the bonus tip is that she's going to give up her leadership role in 4 months. And so she now has two candidates who are being trained for the next 3 months about how to do this role. So N is never lead a meeting alone. Okay, so the next one, of course, is this. You've seen a few of these. Bad backgrounds, right? So this is back to that cinematic thing I think I said at the beginning here, which is, you know, your camera's too high, right? You're too close, right? You're into the dark, and of course, my good friend, I don't have a green screen. All of these things really matter because the G in Engage stands for good looks, right? So good looks is what's inside your video window really matters, and that's why I've been spending time thinking about and learning how can I do some more different things inside this video window. You know, if I even get the wow of like, oh, I've never seen anybody do that. Like, how is he walking in his office, right? And you have to think about it. So at least I'll get 10 more minutes of engagement for you going, you know, what's he doing? And how's he doing that? But the second part about this is that the good looks really do matter. We have a great story about a gentleman. He was interviewing, and he looked up his interviewer on LinkedIn, and he found out that his friend was a Staples fan. So he changed his virtual background to Staples Center. And so as soon as the recruiter logged in, the recruiter came in, paused for a second, and goes, okay, you got me. And so they talked about Lakers, right? They talked about their favorite teams for 5 minutes, and then he did the interview. And of course, he said that it's meant to warm him up a little bit. But most importantly, the conclusion is that a day later, he found out he got the job. So what's in your virtual background really does matter, right? So the next challenge is this. So people talking over each other. So even one of the polls that we have, it was one of the top problems they're still having is people talking over each other. So in your case, maybe they're not talking enough. And of course, sometimes once you get them finally talking, nobody knows the cues, so that people talk over each other, and they have to keep repeating things over and over. As you saw in our presidential debate, maybe if you watched last year, no matter what side you're on, when two people talk at the same time, it's not really engaging for the audience. So our solution for that is air traffic control. This is actually a video of 5,000 flights in the United States in the air at the same time at the peak of American aviation. And then they don't crash into each other. Why? Because they have air traffic control. I think your audio channel on your virtual meeting should be exactly the same. And that is find a way as the host of the meeting to work with each other, have systems so that only one person is talking at a time. The next challenge is people can't work online. So in March of 2020, I had 7 PhDs who were trying to make a critical decision for the students at their college. And in an hour meeting, they couldn't make it. Why? Because they had no systems, right? And they didn't know how to use the technology. They hadn't been practicing meeting online. So the G in Engage is get productive and learn the tools that you have. So, we'll go through maybe TC a little bit and see if there's some other tools that we can use to get your audience to engage with that. And again, I suspect, are you in a tech company, TC?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I just guessed at that. And again, I worked at Microsoft, so I understand that like working with technical people, sometimes they're more maybe on that introverted side, and so drawing them out is a little bit harder. So we'll show you some of the different ways to do that with some of their virtual tools. The last one is this, Zoom fatigue. So TC, have you had Zoom fatigue at least once since March of 2020?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, me too. So this is the poll that we did. All right, what's interesting about this poll is these people. This is about 13% of the people here. They said this. I asked the question, how many hours on average are you on in a day? And these people said 9 to 11. 9 to 11 hours. So go ahead and actually, TC, go ahead and chat me and Karen the maximum number of hours you've ever been on in a day. So so I've had Zoom fatigue in this really high impact meeting that I had. It was on a different platform, and it was 2 hours. And by the end of the meeting, I went to my bedroom and I did this. I just literally passed out, and I didn't wake up until the next day. And the next day, I woke up and I had 2 questions. And the first one was, what truck just hit me? And the second question is, why does this happen? So I've been combing through all the articles and research. There's a lot of new research that's coming around Zoom fatigue. And it says, why do these things happen like that? And so I have 3 key ones, right? The first one is this, which is you don't have the muscle for it. And what I mean by that is that if you had not been meeting virtually already before March of 2020, and then you tried to do an 8-hour day, it's going to hurt. So for instance, if you haven't worked out, and you try and do CrossFit, right? It's just going to hurt. So that's the first part. You don't have the muscle for it. The second one is this: is like it's so great when you get a great, maybe an amazing speaker, right? And they get to this one part, and then, okay, TC, I'm just messing with you. Which is that you have technical problems, right? People get elongated vowels. People freeze in those weird positions, and your brain as the attendee has to sit here and work extra hard going, what the hell is happening, right? What is that person trying to say? So that's the second reason, right? I think people get Zoom fatigue is if you have technical problems, which is why solving the technical problems such as your bandwidth and other things is so important. And the last one is this. Well, in the next 4,222 minutes, I'll be instructing you on 1,000 of the best ways to make a virtual meeting engaging. Okay, I can't do it anymore. It's painful. So if your presenter or your speaker is not engaging, right, then that's the other things that hit Zoom fatigue. All right, Karen, how many hours has TC been on?
6 hours.
6 hours. Yeah, that's not bad. Mine is 16. So the solution for Zoom fatigue is this: is one of them is end your meeting on a high note. So architect high notes in your meeting, right? And look for the different ways that you can do that. This actually comes from Product Market Research, which says that in a 60-minute demo with a product, if you architect the last 5 minutes a high note with your product, some kind of high-end experience, that people are more likely to buy. Your virtual meetings are exactly the same way. Like if you can architect a high note, like find a way to close your meeting on some kind of high note, some kind of closing piece that people will come back. They'll be more energized. They'll be more prepared. Right? They'll maybe have either their cameras on or be more responsive to questions and things like that. So that's end your meeting on a high note. So those are the 6 things. And TC, you get the bonus. We're going to actually get to do a bunch of them here today. But I'm going to say thanks to our Facebook Live audience. All right, these are the 6 tips. Actually do these, and you'll find out that every time you do one of them, your virtual audience will be even more engaging. Check it out. We do have a conference coming up on October 19th through 23rd, and there's a free ticket if you click the link. All right, we'll see you later.